Move it, Spunkmeyer. We're rolling.
Problem this season for the Islanders. It's everything else. As Johansson winds, shoots, and he was hoping for a tip from Larkin. Larkin in front of the net, twists, and he scores!
Hold on a second. There's something.
Just get up here.
I'm in. Ram closing.
Now Edvinsson. Wrist shot, tip, score!
Draisaitl and McDavid. McDavid backs and Draisaitl, he scores.
You know, I mean, both teams probably need some emotion like that.
Yeah.
Well, where the
And it's cleared out. Perunovic, good pass. Braden Shen breaks in. He scores.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Big Apple Hockey. Not necessarily saying it's game over, but let's face it, they're not looking good right now, either New York team. And kind of would love to see them all get back in the win column tonight. I, of course, am your host, Mark Williams, and joined by the host of the Final Buzzer. We did an impromptu Final Buzzer, only one ever with the three of us all together, Mr. John Volkowski.
I think you probably could have used a shorter clip and just found a dumpster that was on fire rolling down one of those hills in San Francisco, and it probably would have conveyed the same message to the same level with probably about 30 less seconds or so.
Right, but I think that's...
I love the video, don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying, like, to get the point across, you could have used even something even more simple that I think more people would have understood.
Yeah, well, it would be missing Bill Paxton's soundbite. And of course, the man with the common sense from the Hockey News, Mr. Anthony LaRocco.
Yeah, I'm just thankful for Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills right now, because they're the only team that's in New York that's good. Everybody else is a disappointment.
Oh God, everybody has been a major disappointment so far, especially. You know, and again, a lot of people are going to look at the New York Rangers and go, well, their record still says, don't look at their record right now. There's a lot of things that are going wrong. David's right there. They're saying go Bills. Because, guys, let's start it off. Let's go right into the A block. We got a lot that we got to talk about today. And we're going to start, of course, with the A block. It is brought to you by, well, Big Apple Hockey trucker hats and shirts are available. Click the link down below. And the A block brought to you by SeatGeek. Use the promo code Big Apple Hockey, $20 off your first order. And guys, just a terrible week for New York hockey. Islanders lost 2 games to the Red Wings. They did win a game versus St. Louis Blues, where there was a moment, Anthony, let's be honest, you probably went, come on, another bad third period. But you look at bad third periods, the Rangers would love to have a good first and second period from their last week, allowing 40 shots in 3 consecutive games. And the game against Calgary, they allowed 40 shots before the second period ended. And their power play is now dropped to 12th in the NHL, 21.2%. We asked before, would they have a power play in the top 10 by Thanksgiving? Oh, my goodness. And the Rangers are reportedly shopping players, including Jacob Trouba and Chris Kreider. Phil, I'm going to start with you. Now, even though we said if they're probably just trying to motivate people, and that's what the consensus is, should Chris Drury blow this up?
Should? Yeah. Will he? No. It's not going to happen. And pretty much the reports came out today that basically he had a discussion with Chris Kreider and Jacob Trouba, and the conversations were productive, quote unquote. So I would imagine that this was just a bluff, and now he's walking it back. some of the players' feelings are hurt. Well, boo-hoo, cry me a river, little fairies. Ooh, I'm gonna cry because my feelings are hurt. How about this? How about you guys show up, show some balls, play hard. Look at the goal that Cooley scored, the second goal. Why was that goal scored?
Hard work and going to the net.
Bingo. They played with some balls and some spine. That's what happens when you do that. The other players don't want to do this. And Zibanejad becomes the beneficiary of the hard work of Will Cooley and Brett Berard getting his first NHL point. Mind you, Brett Berard in one game has more assists than Chris Kreider all season. Just remember that.
In 2 periods.
Yeah. In 3 periods now, but
it was
the second period, yes, when he scored that goal. But yes, in 3 periods now, Brett Berard has more assists than Chris Kreider has all year. And I've seen enough of this group to the point where I know that they don't have that killer instinct in them. They just don't. So yes, Chris Drury should blow up the roster, but he won't. And it looks like he's hurt their feelings. And you know what? Maybe they needed that. Maybe they needed to have their feelings hurt, because this group has taken zero accountability for the piss-poor efforts that they've shown over the last 3 seasons, or even more than this. This is going on, 6 seasons now with the same core group. The same things continue to happen. And now it's worse than last year because of the fact that, last year their starts were slow. First 5-10 minutes of the game, all right, they're sleepwalking. Then they wake up, and then they dominate the rest of the damn game. Now they're just getting outworked from start to finish. They're mailing it in. Zibanejad, a huge scrum ensues. And then what does he do? He goes and just puts his arm around Pavel Buchnevich. Oh, hi, old friend. Oh, let me just ignore this scrum that's going on while my teammate is getting his face punched in when he's down on the ice. Let me go hug my old friend. It's just unacceptable. Unacceptable on so many levels. This leadership group, there's no one that has a letter right now that deserves a letter. But the only solace I'll take is from what Chris Kreider said earlier on today when he got interviewed by Molly Walker. He said that these things happen and that they have to look past it, and that they have to put their noses and their heads down, and they have to grind it out, and they have to get through it. The one person who has taken any accountability and has said anything remotely good or productive about this whole situation is the guy that's out with an injury right now. Zibanejad couldn't be bothered. Trouba, he's checked out. The team doesn't want him. Think about this. I listened to Larry Brooks and Brian Boyle on the Up in the Blue Seats podcast, and Molly Walker wasn't there. The producer took over for her. And Larry Brooks basically said, you know what? They don't want me. I know they don't want me. Why the hell should I care anymore? You know what? He's got a point. He's got a point. So why Jacob Trouba is clearly checked out. He knows his time is near. I mean, it's a big distraction. They should have just nut up, and they should have just traded him right then and there in the offseason, because this has become nothing but a gigantic distraction. And if they wanted to keep Igor Shesterkin, that contract should have been finalized before they played one regular season game. That's should have been it. Too many distractions in this locker room, a malaise that nobody seems to want to do anything to get out of. And you know what? You could say whatever you want about Drury, but he was handcuffed by a lot of different things that were done before he even got to be the actual general manager, while he was still an assistant. So you know what? Is he at fault? Yeah, he's partially at fault. But there, at the end of the day, this comes down to the players. This is the third coach now. When is enough enough?
Just to interject about one thing, Phil. This was a message from Panarin saying it about the Rangers' mood from Vince Mercogliano. We have to stop it somehow. It doesn't matter how we feel or not. We're professionals. Everyone has the experience when things are not going well in your days. We've just got to wake up tomorrow, fix our mistakes, get ready for Carolina. And that's the thing. They better get ready for Carolina, right, Anthony?
Carolina's going to kill them tonight if they don't have their shit together.
Yeah. Carolina has proven to be top team in the East, maybe even the best. So yeah, the Rangers are gonna need to get up for this game. Otherwise, it could get pretty ugly quick. But yeah, I mean, just to kind of expand on what Phil said, I mean, they're a team that's kind of going through the motions right now. There are a lot of distractions. I mean, there's the Igor, there's Trouba. But as far as Mark, your lead-in, should the Drury blow up the Rangers? As Phil said, yes, but it's not realistic right now. And it's totally clear that the Kreider Trouba thing was just a ploy to light a fire under their ass, and he's not actually shopping them. Plus, also look at it this way, he couldn't even trade Jacob Trouba in the summertime when that's the time of year where it's typically easier to make big trades like that involving higher salary. So if he couldn't do it during the summer, there's no chance in hell that he's trading Trouba's $8 million salary, during the season when so many teams are cap strapped and it will result in retention of salary and salary going the other way. It's too big of a transaction to make. So, unfortunately, Chris Drury's hands are tied right now, and we kind of touched on this on our last stream. It's hard for a general manager at this point in the season to make wholesale changes. I mean, yeah, sure. When the deadline comes, if they're still struggling, then yeah, maybe he could sell some pieces. But for right now, like I said, there's no magic pill to take. There's no one walking through that door to change the course. They have to figure it out on their own, and that's just a sad reality right now for the Rangers. And like Kreider said, hopefully he follows through with his quote. But he's one of the guys that's not doing anything. So veteran like him needs to lead the charge. And as Mike said, yeah, Mika should have been benched a long time ago. We've talked about that. Mika Zibanejad looks like, not to keep kind of like saying the same thing over and over again, but he looks like he'd rather be, behind a DJ booth somewhere in Europe, So, this is a team that is had high expectations during the season. And granted, they could still get there, but right now they look like a borderline playoff team, to be honest with you, let alone a Stanley Cup contender, not even close to it. So, and the one thing they're fortunate on is they're fortunate that some of the other teams behind them are struggling. Like the Islanders blew another lead. They could have been, if they held on to that lead, they could have been 2 points behind the Rangers for fourth. They could have theoretically tied them tonight if things went well. So the Rangers are lucky some other teams are struggling too. Otherwise, they could find themselves out of a playoff spot already. So, if the Rangers don't right the ship soon, things are going to get real hairy for them. And they're going to be in a situation where they never thought they would be at any point this season, which is on the other side of the playoff line. So, Chris Drury, while he's showing patience, I would say that, if this continues and they lose, kind of a bunch more games, then maybe he tries to make a move somehow, despite it being hard to do. But for right now, like I said, the Rangers have to figure it out on their own and hope that their fortune changes. But just kind of like circle back and some of the other things people said, and Phil alluded to it. Shesterkin's contract should have been finalized before the season started. It should have been. It should have been. And I referenced this, before the season started. And I get it. Again, every situation is different. But when a player doesn't extend right away when they're eligible to, that should send off alarm bells. As much as maybe I didn't want to admit at the time, when Tavares didn't extend with the Islanders when he could have, big problems. When these players don't extend right away, it usually doesn't end up going well. And Mark, you referenced Shesterkin's good friend, Elliotte Sorokin.
Yep.
The minute he became eligible that summer, the day that Lou signed Mayfield, him, Engvall, he extended right away. 8 years. He showed the loyalty. He committed. Why did Igor Shesterkin not commit? He plays in New York, right? one of the best markets there is. He plays
Especially for Russia.
He plays for a storied franchise, New York Rangers. Doesn't get any better than that. They're a good team. All this stuff. Why wouldn't he have signed right away? When that happens, there's usually something behind it that there's a reason for it. And like Phil said, the contract should have been done. And if he didn't want to sign again, I know Chris Drury would have been a tough spot, and they have cup expectations. I get that, but if your franchise goalie's balking at re-signing, trade him. I know that could have derailed the season, or that could have changed their plans. But I mean, now look. I mean, you have a goalie who's underperforming for what he's asking for. The team's struggling. What happens now? I mean, it's just really an unfortunate situation. But to kind of circle back, the Rangers need to figure it out on their own because, like I said, there's no magic pill.
First, let me start by saying this, Anthony. It's okay. You don't have to apologize about saying the same thing over and over again when the Rangers don't change the narrative. And I've been resistant the entire time to Mika Zibanejad ever waiving his no-trade clause. Anthony, Phil came up with the only way I think he would actually do it. You bench him. You bench him for a long time. You healthy scratch him. You make him feel about as uncomfortable as Sean Couturier did last year. Maybe you get a response, or maybe you know what he says. All right, I'll accept it and I'll move on from this. If you guys want to move on from me, I don't think it's going to happen because I think he's going to say, well, regimes change. I got an 8-year contract, 5 more years left on the deal. But Spencer Knight might not be the ideal candidate for that.
And
but
also, there's a man there called Sergei Bobrovsky, so the Panthers aren't trading for Igor Shesterkin.
Who's no, I don't think Amanda's saying trade him to Florida. I think she's saying trade Igor and then go get trade for Spencer Knight.
Oh, okay.
I don't think she's saying I think she knows better than that.
And as we're saying with this, I'm going to try to be brief so we can get to the Islanders before Bar Talk because I don't have that much sense. I did say Utah would be one of the teams that would covet him. But first, Igor does have some teams that he could say no to on his, but not nearly as many as Trouba in his current deal right now. Goalie trades in season, very rare now. Yeah. Very rare, especially a goalie of Shesterkin's caliber. So the idea of trading him at the deadline, you better know this well before the end of the year. If by Christmas it's too late. Because as I think it was again,
I wouldn't even go anywhere near 11.5 for him. If he wants anything over 9.5, he can scratch.
And I agree with Phil.
I mean, look,
that's going to go all the way down.
Look what Connor Hellebuyck is doing right now, and his
Connor Hellebuyck is making $8.5 million.
Yeah, and look what he's doing.
And he's the best. Don't miss me with this whole Igor Shesterkin is better than Connor Hellebuyck shit because it's not true. It's not. The guy has 2 Norris trophies for a reason. If he wants anything more than what Connor Hellebuyck wants, he could walk for all I care.
Well,
I mean, you know what? I don't care at this point. This comment above here can't give Igor an extension right now. It's like putting lipstick on a pig. It's basically what it is. Yeah. What have I been saying from the start with this? Is that what is overpaying this guy and getting into his demands going to do to fix the rest of this team? You're going to be stuck with an immovable contract in 5-6 years because you went and you tried to extend a window that was clearly closing, like they did in 2014 with Lundqvist. They gave him that deal in the middle of that season, or right before that season. And then what ended up happening? That deal ended up being horrendous 4 years later. And then he ended up
back for till 3 years afterwards.
Because he started declining after the 2015-16 season. There's no reason to give this guy this type of money, especially when this team is having this much trouble in a year where they should have their fists going through walls about how angry they are about the fact they came that close. Well, not really that close because 6 wins, as Larry Brooks said it, is still far away. You needed 6 wins to win the Stanley Cup. That's still far away. So you were almost there, but you weren't, and now you're playing like this? Are you sulking? Are you crying? Are you sad? What is the issue with this team right now?
Well, again, let me be brief on this, and then let's get to the Islanders because we got a lot to talk about in Bar Talk. But guys, I mean, because again, the comment just came through that Igor was paid $6 million and he was underpaid. He also played 57 games as a max. Henrik Lundqvist around this time was playing 70. So don't give me he's underpaid. Henrik Lundqvist had far less talent, and he was playing far more games. Igor, again, we talked about this on Sunday. Guys, go back and watch our 2-hour video on that. But if you're going to tell me Igor is worth massive amount of money, no. He's not worth $12 million. He's not worth more than Panarin. No. And he needs a mental reset. How about have some stones? Go take some accountability. And I'm sorry, this is a hot take of mine. I said it in our group chat. He went out to go challenge the St. Louis Blues, and he was all angry because it was a chance for him to act like a big guy. Anytime there's an altercation front, he's got to be the one to punch guys. Rangers get penalties. Look at 2 years ago, they could have had the Devils on their knees up 3-0 in the series, but Shesterkin had to punch Timo Meier in the head. Jack Hughes scores. Rangers don't get another goal. Dougie Hamilton scores. 2-1 series. So Igor, shut the hell up. I'm tired of his contract that he's not worth. I'm tired of him going to act like a tough guy when you stay in the net. Like and to be honest with you, mental resets, I'll give him all the credit in the world. He's had the best save percentage the last 2 years after the All-Star break. But why does he have to wait till then? His numbers, his goals against, and his save percentage are getting worse. And I'm taking too much time on this segment. The night thing isn't bad. The thing is, you would need to get him here. If the goal is to win the Stanley Cup, you need a veteran goalie, or you need to get late enough in the season where Knight has no idea what he's in for.
That's the issue right there. He's had one season where he's played at the level that he wants to be paid at. His other seasons have come nowhere close to this. I'm sorry.
And I agree with all these comments.
Is he a top 5 goalie in this league? Yes.
Yeah.
Is he the best goalie in the league? No. Is he $4 million or so more worth than UC Saros, Jeremy Swayman, Jake Ottinger, and Connor Hellebuck? No.
Especially with Dylan Garand playing well down in Hartford.
Not only it's not even just that for me, but like the third goal last night, the Shen goal the other night. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's a stoppable shot. His angle is clearly off, and that's why it goes in. Why am I going to give up or give a massive contract to a goalie that's letting those in more consistently in every other year that's not 21-22 and pay him like he's the best player in the league?
I reiterate the same thing I've said all the time when I get in this argument with people. You got to think with your head on this one. We thought with our heart back in 2014. So we're on the 10-year anniversary of the Henrik Lundqvist re-signing. You can't do, actually 11 years because he did in 2013.
They've been doing this for the last 20 years, and it hasn't worked. You don't build from the goal out. You build at center. All of the teams that have won in the cap era have won with hot goaltending, good defense, and great center depth. And the Rangers have not had great center depth. They've built from the goal out, and their defense has been questionable outside of a couple of pieces that have really carried the corpse. So stop this. When are they going to learn?
It's just unbelievable right now. And right now, they're only a couple points ahead of the Buffalo Sabres, who are stumbling to get out of the gate. Guys, let's go across to Long Island, where the Islanders, as Anthony said, they blew 2 third-period leads. The Islanders right now 6-2-1 when leading after 3 periods. After 2 periods. You're leading after 3. That's pretty good. Going into the third. Anthony, are the Islanders collapses back, or is this just something I'm overreacting to?
No, I mean they've done it a few times now this year, which was a big thing last year too, and you know it's really frustrating because we talked about it last year. If they didn't have so many blown leads last year. They could have easily had 10 more points, maybe even more. In the standings. And this year already, they gave up a lot of points. Not this most recent game against the Red Wings. Last week when they were in Detroit, they allowed the game-winning goal with 50 seconds left. And they allowed the tying goal a couple of minutes prior to that. They got no points. It's happening too much. And it happened under Lane Lambert, and we thought obviously, Lambert has to go. But it's continued to happen under Waugh. And, Waugh's actually a good coach. That's the thing. It's clearly not on the coach now. It's on the group of players. And it's just like they get a lead. And I feel like it's happened so many times now when a team gets within one or ties it, they kind of have that, because it's happened so much, they have this like, here we go again mentality. And they just kind of like, I don't know. It's like they go into a shell and they already concede, So I long for the days when Barry Trotz was there during the runs where they were complete opposite, Mark. Yeah. They got a lead. They got a lead in the Barry Trotz. See you later. Pack it up. The other team might as well just go home.
And it didn't matter what time of the game.
Yeah, because they're not tying the game, or they're not going to get anywhere close to it. So I don't know. I mean, obviously Trotz is one of the best coaches of all time, so his system had something to do with it. But they're not holding leads, and it's biting them in the ass. And despite that, they're still only 2 points out of a playoff spot. So and they're playing a team, the Boston Bruins, that are ahead of them. So the Islanders really need to win tonight's game, but they need to buck this trend. They need to hold on to leads, because it's hurting them and it's costing them points. Just like last year, the Islanders should be in a playoff spot right now by a couple of points with how many points they've given up. But they just can't play with the lead. And yeah, sure, obviously not having Adam Pelech hurts, that's for sure. Not having Mike Riley, Alexander Romanov has been in and out of the lineup. He was hurt. He came back. Then he got hurt again because he wasn't fully there. And then he came back.
Then he had the unfortunate incident with the broken stick.
And then last game he missed because he was sick. But, so he's missed a bunch of games. So their left side defense this year really has been Grant Hutton, Isaiah George, of which he's impressed, but he's still a rookie. So, Grant Hutton, Isaiah George, who Dennis Shalovsky's playing consistently because they're injured. And, so it's just that certainly contributes to it when you have a week, when you're missing 3 of your 6 left side defensemen. That certainly plays a role in it, but they're not confident when they're playing with the lead. And usually teams play more confident when they have the lead. It's not the opposite. And right now, that's what seems to be the case with the Islanders. It's like they play better from when they're behind. But, fortunately for them, like I said, it's still somewhat early. And because of the struggles of the Eastern Conference, as we all know, the Rangers are struggling. The Bruins are struggling. Teams are so closely grouped together that it's no reason to panic right now. But because the margin is so little, 2 points. But like I said, they need that trend to stop. They need to start banking points and holding on to leads. And, last thing I'll say before I turn it over to you guys, and I tweeted about this the other day, Patrick Waugh has to start riding Ilya Sorokin. I compared their numbers. While Varlamov wasn't the reason why they lost that game to Detroit, he's got an 898 save percentage compared to Sorokin's 917. Sorokin is clearly back to the level that he's been at his whole career, aside from last season. He's given the Islanders chances to win every game. They've given him the Jacob deGrom treatment. He needs to start the majority of the games. You need to let him play a bunch in a row, and for the Islanders to start kind of banking some points. I think that's the only way they're going to go on a little bit of run here, because he's playing top-notch hockey, and Varlamov is shaky at times. So they need to start riding him more. I don't know if they're concerned about his back, and they want to make sure that he's fresh for later in the season when the games are more important. But I got news for you: if if you're losing games early, it's not going to matter if he's fresh down the stretch because then the gap is going to get sizable. So I think they need to ride him and, hopefully start to win some games when they have the lead in the third period.
Phil, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't understand why. I mean, I get why the splits are close, obviously because of the injury, but it doesn't make sense to me that they're not going with him now and giving him an increased workload. He's been back for a bit. It's not like he's fresh back, like maybe a week or two. He's been back for a bit. He's been back for enough to the point where, like Anthony said, they need to start having him bear the lion's share of the games. And I don't understand why. I guess I get it because Waugh has a loyalty to Varlamov. Obviously, Varlamov was there in Waugh's infancy in Colorado as a coach. But at the same time, like, you have to be able to understand that Elliotte Sorokin is your guy. He was given the deal he was given because he is the guy. He's shown that he's back. Start going to him more. And Waugh's got to start doing something about these guys. Because the reason why they continue to lose games and blow these third period leads is because they take their foot off the pedal. You can clearly tell the difference in aggression between the first and second periods and the third period. It's the worst play of any team in the third period, in my opinion, across the league right now.
Their goal differential is among the worst in the third period.
What's that?
Their goal differential in the third, among the worst.
Oh, the worst. Yeah, it's right near the top. But the thing is I liken it to watching an NFL team play prevent defense on the final drive of the game. They just sit back and they're trying not to overcommit and make a mistake. So they play this tentative hockey and they look like a deer in headlights. And teams run around all over them in their own zone. And you want to see that aggression. You want to see them go for the kill and go for that goal. I would rather have them go be aggressive, send the defense in, pinch, and try to get that insurance goal and make the mistake on that than have them play the way that they're playing and just sit back and just get pummeled in for an entire period and blow the lead and lose the game that way. That to me makes no sense with this team. And not only that, it's not just on the players, but it's on the leadership. Why hasn't Anders Lee stood the hell up and been like, hey, what the fuck is going on here? Like, this has happened for way too long now. This has happened for 3 seasons now. 3 seasons, and nothing has changed. Why is this not changing? And if he can't get them to respond, then you know what? Maybe Lou has to step in. Or maybe Waugh has to finally start benching people. Make an example. Stop being afraid to hurt their feelings. You're not getting the results you want. Something has to change. I don't know what's going on there. I don't know what's in their head. But whatever they're giving in the third period is shit. It's flat out shit. And it needs to change.
Let me just start by saying I put up the video on Instagram for the movie Glengarry Glen Ross on coffee is for closers. Yeah, the Islanders should get all their coffee removed from there because they need to close. And this team is good enough where they can close. Elliotte Sorokin, Anthony, you said it best. Elliotte Sorokin 2 seasons ago, he played 62 games, 924 save percentage, 234 goals against, 6 shutouts. He can handle a heavy workload, which, again, his best friend needs to work a little harder to get to those numbers. But I digress. The Islanders, let's go to this number that's amazing. The Islanders in the first period, +3 goal differential. Second period, +4 goal differential.
Right.
Third period, -13. What the hell is going on? I mean, and Wicked saying it right here. What's crazy is with this team is fairly old and they just don't. No, you know what? They know how to protect the lead. Most of the players that are there were there under Trotz. So just what is wrong? It's unfair to go pitting it on Noah Dobson or Siplikov. Those are capable players. I'm just throwing names out there of new guys, Anthony. I'm not saying specifically them. But I'm going to give you the last word on this, but I understand goal scoring will help, and then I'll take things off. But if St. Louis tied that game Saturday night, there would have been a lot more nervous people at UBS Arena. So last word on this one, Ant.
You bring a lot of the players that are here now were there under Trotz, and I think it's a matter of Trotz's system was a lot different. I think that went into it. But again, like I said at the top, I think it's, kind of like human nature there. When something keeps happening over and over again, you kind of just succumb to it, and you're like, oh, well, here we go again. And I think they're a fragile group in that regard. I think when they get a lead and the team starts to come back, you see it. They tense up and they go into a shell, and they can't do that. They need a killer instinct. The game against Detroit, 2-1 game, about 9 minutes left. They had a power play. In that situation, your power play, that's where you come up big. You score a power play goal, 3-1, and the game probably ends differently. But they didn't, and Detroit took the opportunity and ran with it. So if they don't, figure it out quick, they're going to keep losing points. And then, like the last 2 years, they're going to need to win, like 10 out of 11, 10 out of 12, which they've done, just to get into the playoffs. And you don't want to be in that situation. You don't want to clinch the last couple of games of the season. So they still have time. Like I said, the deficit's small. They just need to start holding on to leads, and they'd be in a much different spot.
And it's by the way, sorry, go ahead, finish.
Just kind of like last word. Reinforcements seem like they are coming. I mean, Duclair and Pelech have resumed skating on their own, which is good news. So hopefully they're not out too much longer. Pelech's injury was a broken jaw, so as far as legs go, I feel like that should be an injury where he could probably come back pretty soon. Matt Barzal,
how's his eating? Do you know?
I don't know
if he has jaw wired shut.
Yeah, Matt Barzal has not resumed skating yet, which is no surprise. He kind of got hurt, after Duclair and Pelech, so he's a little bit further away. But it seems like at least like Duclair and Pelech could be back, in another week or so. So that would be good.
And sorry that I started talking on this one, Anthony, when you were finishing up.
But
it's frustrating also because when you got a goalie like Sorokin who is on his game, and you had possibly the greatest goalie at shutting the door in Patrick Waugh, who's behind the bench. It's unbelievable the mindset of this team that they can't start closing in the third period. So it's got to happen sooner than later, and it'll be great to have Duclair back because he started out pretty strong for the Islanders. And obviously they can use that line with Barzal again. But Horvat will be the happiest man around. Hey Anthony, do you have a parlay you're playing tonight?
I actually do. I can give it to you here quickly.
Okay. Well, here, do you have it ready available, or should I go to DraftKings?
Yeah, I'm gonna just show you quickly. So I got anytime goal scorer, Tage Thompson. I have Sam Reinhart and Cole Caulfield. So just the three leg.
I would say that's a good three-legged parlay. So let's take that to the bank. I'll see if I can get that in before the game start later. All right, guys, let's take a quick message from DraftKings.
You mean you don't have Jack Roslovic on it?
Yeah, should though. Yeah,
hey, you know what? Yeah.
Like...
how he's scoring. And I love when somebody asked one time, oh, the Rangers make a mistake by getting rid of him. No, he sucks. Guys, let's go to Bar Talk. But first, a quick message from DraftKings. Hockey fans light the lamp this winter with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. New customers can bet just $5 pregame money line on any NHL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. If that wasn't enough excitement, you can turn small bets into bigger payouts with same-game parlays. Combine multiple bets like which team will win, how many goals will be scored, and more for your shot at an even bigger payout. Download the DraftKings Sports app now. use promo code THPN. Bet $5 on any NHL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. Only at the DraftKings Sportsbook with code THPN.
Shot. This is the easiest I've ever to answer.
I'm going to say beer. I can't even begin to describe.
I'm actually going to go crazy. I'm going to buy everybody around on this one. And welcome back, everybody, to Big Apple Hockey's Bar Talk. We're gauging our confidence on NHL topics based on our choice of drink. So confident you're buying everybody around? So I'll have a beer. Oh, God, I need a shot. I'm probably going to need a couple dealing with some knuckleheads tonight. Make sure you play along down in the comments below. And for anybody that's looking up right now, yes, this is me over at Boss Croakers tonight. If you're able to talk to me, then I don't know how the hell you're doing that. Guys, because there's going to be a sea of people. All right. We're going to start with the New York Rangers. Will Cooley has 9 goals and 8 assists in 20 games this season, Phil. Will Cooley will score 25 goals this year.
Ooh. He's on a hot streak right now, so I'm going to say beer. I will say this. I do believe that he is ready for an increased role. I think he also he will have a letter on his jersey one day. I think he exemplifies the way this team the way that Drury and Elliotte want this team to play. I think he'll be in a Ranger uniform for a long time. I'm surprised he's still wearing 50 for whatever reason. I thought he would get away from that, but I guess he really likes that number. But I do think that he will be here for a very, very, very long time. I would get him locked up real soon. I'm going to say beer. I think 20 is a good bet at this point. I have my concerns about 25.
Anthony, what do you think?
Yeah, beer. I certainly think he has a real good chance hitting 20, 25. I know it's just only another 5, but I mean, I think he will be a 20 goal scorer this year. At 25, I don't know, not really certain about it, but I think he's the hardest working Ranger. I really like what I've seen from him this year. He's got a motor that doesn't stop. He's got all the tools. So been very impressed with him.
Guys, I'm gonna go nuts. I'm gonna buy around on this one. It's only 16 goals. I understand where you guys are saying is plateaus. I talk about this all the time. Once you get to 20, then you have to think 30 after that. Maybe he gets to 26, 27. He gets to 30, then I'm stopping time and playing the lottery. But he's been their best player, and by far he's hungry. He's their best player at 5-on-5, and it just looks like he's ready to ascend. And next year, mark my words, no pun intended, when Chris Kreider is moved in the offseason, and I think it will be an offseason trade, Will Cooley will go in to take his spots. Let's talk about another player that's playing really well right now. Anthony, Isaiah George. He played really well for the Islanders, collected his first point on assist the other night. Isaiah George should stay up with the big club full time.
I like what I've seen from him. He's still green, but he's got good wheels. He can make a good first pass. So I do think Isaiah George will be a full-time NHLer sometime in the near future. Just when you look at the numbers game this year, Romanov will be back tonight from his illness, which means Grant Hutton will come out. But then when Pelech comes back, Isaiah George has got to come out. There's nobody else at that point to really take out of the lineup on the left side. So because of a numbers game, he is eventually going to leave the lineup. But I do think the Islanders have a player here that could be a pretty good defenseman. I don't think he's never going to be a huge point getter, but he just looks like he could be a solid defenseman in this league. So I like what he's done so far, but when the Islanders get back to full health, I don't think there's any room in the lineup. Although Mike Riley had heart surgery, so he's going to be out for a long time. So maybe they can keep him as an extra when Pella comes back. But I also think a young guy like him should play though. So torn on that one. But so I guess I'll answer this with a shot, and that's not because he's bad or doing poorly. I just think when they're fully healthy, there's not really a good avenue for him to stay up with the team.
I love that moment, Anthony, because I literally had it on shot the entire time for your message. I moved it up to beer, and then you said shot. Okay. What do you think?
I'm going to, just because the wording says should and not will, I'm going to say round.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Just because of the wording itself. Like, he's been very good for them. He's been solid defensively. He makes a good first pass. He plays with poise really kind of beyond his years. So, I mean, while I agree with Anthony in the sense that he shouldn't be a 7, he should go play in the AHL then at that point and really kind of dominate down there and get his confidence and minutes up. I feel like he's at the point where I don't know how much left he has to prove down there. I mean, what are you doing with this kid if you're going to send him down? I mean, he's going to go down there, and I feel like he could end up getting bored because he's just too good to be down there at this point. He's already proven that he can hack it here. So, round for the wording, but will he? No. As Anthony said, the numbers game just doesn't allow a slot for him once everyone gets back to full health. So that's the unfortunate part of being a young player trying to crack an NHL roster.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go back with the wording again. And should he stay up? Well, he's earned the spot. I'll say that. Should? No, I agree with Anthony. And I guess also with what you said, Phil, he's a 7th defenseman. They want to make sure he's playing. And then if there's an injury, he'll be the first guy to be recalled.
Yeah,
I liked what I've seen out of Isaiah George. I know in the highlight package at the beginning of this stream, he was the guy Dylan Larkin scored on, but there aren't many negatives.
Dylan Larkin also made a really good play there. But whether the goal or not should have went in, it's another story, but Dylan Larkin made a really good play there.
Yeah, I mean, but also Dylan Larkin's got a lot more experience, and with experience, George will actually see a lot more of that. Guys, let's stick on the topic of young players that are playing well right now. Matvei Michkov scored the OT winner versus the Chicago Blackhawks on Saturday night. He's got 8 goals and 9 assists. Matvei Michkov is the Calder Trophy frontrunner. Phil, I'm going to start this one. I'm going to go round, even though there's another name that one of you guys might want to throw in. He's my pick to win the Calder. I think he's going to be the guy that's going to do it. And hard to believe. Short sitting him down for a little bit might have sparked him a little bit more, and we're going to see more out of Michkov throughout the year. Philk, is he the front runner?
I'm going to say Beard because he probably is, but Logan Stankoven is right there with him. I mean, I know Maxim Siplikov is probably not going to get votes over the younger guys because of his age. He's played well. There's also Macklin Celebrini, who is making a huge push lately to get to the top of the rookie scoring charts. He is playing very well. And not only is he playing well offensively, but he's playing well on both sides of the puck. He has 7 less points than Michkov in 8 less games played. And he just seems to be doing all of Oh, yeah. And then there's this guy, too, that we're forgetting about. Dustin Wolf in Calgary.
Yep.
I mean, I can't say that he's that much of a front runner over Dustin Wolf. I mean, Dustin Wolf is one of the big reasons why Calgary is in the position they're in right now. So, I mean, I'm going to say shot. I'm going to shot.
Okay.
Because I think that there's no real front runner right now.
I agree.
Give it to 3 different players.
Yeah.
And I think Celebrini is I think he's really gathering some eyes. There are a lot of people around the NHL talking about him right now.
Mm.
There's even a conversation going around about him versus Bedard now.
Wow, Anthony.
Yeah, it's a shot for me too, and it's not a slight on Michkov. He's been great, but like Phil said, there's a bunch of guys there. I mean, there's Stankoven, there's Celebrini, Dustin Wolf is. I mean, he's 8-3-1 with a .921 save percentage. I mean, that's really impressive for a rookie goaltender. So there's just a bunch of guys that are just having good years, and one's not really blowing the other out of the water to say front runner. So.
Can you name the last goaltender that was putting up that type of numbers as a rookie?
Henrik Lundqvist.
Bingo.
Yeah, that's actually what I was going to say.
Oh, all right. But yeah, I mean, and look, he did play 17 games last year, so I guess that's a little bit of a chance for him to get familiar with the team. I would have said he wasn't a rookie anymore after that, but because then in that case, you could argue Aiden Hill is a rookie still forever. He's never played more than 27 in a year until the Stanley Cup. But anyway, just rambling right now at the moment. More importantly, guys, let's move on to the Atlantic. Here's the bottom of the Eastern Conference standings. It's really a question about the Atlantic. I'll tell you why in a second. Here are the bottom of the Eastern Conference standings. Montreal, 17 points. Pittsburgh, 18. Ottawa, 19. Detroit with 20. How's the Yzer playing going? And so the question is, Anthony, Ottawa is the biggest disappointment in the Eastern Conference. Mr. LaRocco.
I mean, I'm gonna say round, just because Ottawa was amongst those teams with Buffalo and Detroit looking like they were finally going to take the next step. And even though the East is kind of, it's teams are close together. I mean, the point gap, as you see there, aren't huge, but the fact still remains. I mean, Ottawa's 19 points. That's only 2 points better than Montreal for worse in the East. And not only that, but 19 points is only 3 points better for than the worst team in the league in Chicago. It's 16. So yeah, I would say Ottawa has been a disappointment, especially they acquired Linus Ullmark, though, their number one goaltender. Thought maybe that would put them over the edge. They got a great cast of forwards, and we talk about it a lot. Tkachuk, Batherson, Norris, Giroux, Stutzla. So they got guys there. They just, for whatever reason, they're still struggling. So yeah, I would say it's them. So I'll stick with around there.
Phil, I saw you grimace, and I think it's that we have a lot of good choices to choose from in the Eastern Conference right now.
They're up there for me. I would say that they're top 3 to 5. I look at the Boston Bruins, and I say to myself, you go out and you give that big contract to Elias Lindholm, and he ends up disappointing. Nikita Zadorov, you give that big contract to him. You extend Swayman and give him the money, and they're still just not getting the production that they need from a lot of guys. Excuse me. I get Brad Marchand had 3 surgeries in the offseason heading into this year, so I get that he's also aging on top of that. So it's rough for him, but at the same time, that team needs to be a hell of a lot better. The New York Rangers are one of the biggest disappointments right now. I don't know how you could take a look at that team and tell me that they're not a disappointment. It's just too much for a team that went to an Eastern Conference final for its second time in 3 seasons, and now all of a sudden they're playing like they look like they're headed towards a rebuild mid-season. I could take a look at Detroit too. Detroit's another one where it's they add pieces. You're expecting Moritz Seider to take another step forward defensively after looking like he's kind of regressed a little bit. He still doesn't look the same. Simon Edvinsson has played okay for coming in, and he's a young defenseman with a lot of promise. He's played okay, but there are a lot of pieces there that are not getting the job done in Detroit as well. So I think that Ottawa could be the number one, but you could make arguments for like 3 or 4 other teams against them.
So it's a beer for you, right?
Beer.
Yeah. I'm gonna let that go, and then I'm gonna put it right back up again. I'm gonna have to go beer on this one too. The only reason why I'm gonna give Ottawa somewhat a pass out of this, Travis Green is still an unknown commodity at head coach. Linus Ullmark went from one of the best defensive teams to a very porous one. They've been better defensively this year for the most part, but Ottawa's still just we're all waiting for Ottawa. When do we stop waiting? It's just that simple when it comes to them. I for one, I kind of go, they might need to blow things up, move people around, because they made their commitments to their franchise guys, and you got to wonder if it's ever going to click. They can never solve the goaltending. The goals against, they're, let's see, 68 goals against, and Boston's higher in that division. 80 by Montreal, but that's not saying much right now. I mean, you just never know with Ottawa. So I'm just when Ottawa is good, give me a call. I'm tired of waiting on them. All right, let's go to the one that two teams that made headlines, but one of them that beat the New York Rangers on Monday night. St. Louis Blues hire former Boston Bruins head coach Jim Montgomery, who won the first game on Monday, as I just mentioned. They're 3 points behind right now, 2 games under 500, 10-12-1. 3 points behind Edmonton and Colorado for the second wildcard spot. Phil, Jim Montgomery will lead Boston. Sorry.
Did you get
yeah.
Did you get him confused with the Lions running back?
Wait, did you son of a bitch?
Oh, Anthony pranked him.
You got me. All right.
Yeah, that's why you got to make sure before you go on to check those banners, because Anthony's a prankster.
I'm rattling them off, and I'm like, David Montgomery. I didn't write that down, but fortunately, I was able to get there. All right, Phil, Jim Montgomery will lead the Blues to a playoff spot. Now, I guess for this question, all they have to do is get into one.
Although I would have laughed my ass off if Anthony would have changed that to David Montgomery will lead the Blues or the Bruins in rushing to a playoff spot. Yeah. I would have just lost my shit there. That would have been hilarious. I don't like their roster. I don't. I really don't like their roster. I still think without Torrey Krug, they need something back there to help. If they go and make a big move to help shore up their defense and maybe get another forward, maybe. But if Gabriel Landeskog comes back and he can provide Colorado a boost, even if it's just a Willis Reed effect, that could do so much for that team, even though I don't trust their goaltending as far as I can throw it.
Nope.
Edmonton is the team that really, to me, once McDavid and Draisaitl really get going, and McDavid is getting there, but he hasn't gotten fully going yet. Once those guys get going, it doesn't matter what's around them at this point. They're a playoff team. So I'm going to say beer. It's definitely possible. I don't know if the roster is good enough.
Anthony, what do you think? Montgomery gets the Blues rushing yards, even though there's no more of a NFL team there?
I'm going to say shot, just because they're behind Colorado and Edmonton, who I think are better teams than them. They're 2 points behind Utah, and I like Utah better. They're behind Seattle too. That's the only team where I think I can make a case where saying I like the Blues better. But so I just don't know. When I look at them and I look at Utah, Colorado, Edmonton, I can't sit there and say they're a better team than any of those teams. I'm granted, as Phil said, if they make a move along the way, I mean that could change things. But right now, I put those teams ahead of them and think they'll remain that way. So stick with the shot.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point and a good point that you made right there, because right now Edmonton is tied with Colorado for the last spot. I think the Kings might be holding on right now. you got to hope that a team like Calgary drops out. Utah is basically the Ottawa of the Western Conference. Just
no, they show much better promise. I don't know how you can make that comparison. I really don't, Mark. I'm sorry. Utah's got 21 points. They're 3 points behind Edmonton, and they played the same amount of games. And then Ottawa, they have 19 points, but they're not even close because they continue to lose games. Look at the last 10 for Ottawa. 3-6-1, Mark.
Yeah.
3-6-1. 4-6.
And look at Utah. They're 4-6.
And they're a better team. They're getting production from guys up and down their lineup. But they're also dealing with injuries. They're dealing with 2 of their top 4 defensemen out. They're going to get those guys back, and they're going to play better. Ottawa, what is Ottawa dealing with?
Yeah. That's a good question because Ottawa's not dealing with anything. And it's just the perennial, I'm waiting for this team to improve type of thing. And then when they get their gut check, they're not there. So I'm going to go shot on this one as well because I don't like the teams that are in front of St. Louis. I don't like their roster construction. I don't like their goaltending situation, although it looks like Hofer is showing a little bit more promise and Jordan Binnington is back. But there's not a lot that I like about them right now in St. Louis.
Schmaltz has 0 goals and 17 assists. Jeez.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Phil, Kyle Connor, 13 goals this season in 22 games. He had a career high of 47 3 seasons ago in 21-22. Kyle Connor is going to top 50 goals for the first time this season.
I'm going to buy a round on this. You know what? Honestly, I know that he's at 13 and 22 you put up there. I honestly think he's just the way he's playing right now, the way that team around him is playing right now. I can absolutely see it. I'm gonna buy a round. I think he's probably, when it comes down to it, the most underrated superstar and goal scorer in the league. Like, he's a guy that's usually around a point per game almost every year. He's a guy that gives you 40 goals. I mean, he's just somebody that, I know last year he had only 61 points in 65 games. He had 80 in 82 the year before that, 93 in 79 with a 47-goal season. I could see him having another year like he had in 21-22, where he's that close to 50 goals and 100 points. I think he could do it.
I firmly believe this might be the year that he finally breaks in and gets to 50 goals. I thought if you would have asked me about 3 weeks ago, I would have said he was the best player in the NHL at that moment. That's how good he was playing. So I'm going to buy a round on this one. And let's go with this. It's you got to love the way he's playing. Hopefully health is still fine. Everything still goes good. And that he'll keep scoring for the Winnipeg Jets. Because everybody's got to say who's the most underrated player in the league. Most people will say Kyle Connor because nobody talks about the Winnipeg Jets. But let's talk about a guy who might be on pace for another first of his own. Phil, Jack Eichel has 34 points this season. Jack Eichel will reach 100 points for the first time in his career.
When he was drafted, he was touted as having that type of potential. And there was obviously health issues and stuff that was going on in Buffalo. And then that 1920 season, he was on pace for over 90 points. And it looked like he really turned the corner and was one of the NHL's true elite. Then all the health issues and the saga with him and Adams and, not having the surgery. But, yeah, I'm buying a round on this. I am absolutely buying a round on Jack Eichel. The Rangers should have traded for him when they had the chance, and that's one that's going to haunt them for a while.
I don't blame the Rangers for not trading for him, and I would have been hesitant to see what the package was going to be, too.
You know what the package was.
All right.
Well, Buffalo wanted Nils Lundqvist, Vitaly Kravtsov, Philip Hedl, and a first-round pick, and they didn't do it.
Well, hindsight 2020. I mean, I definitely would have dealt 2 of those guys. Anthony wanted to get this one in. I thought it might be a little bit too rough. But wait, hold on. Wait, before we do that, Anthony, let's go back to let's just finish with Jack Eichel. Jack Eichel, I think he's going to break 100 points. So let's get that round in there. My second thing I want to ask, if both of you are available, if not just you, Vilk, how about Jack Eichel for the Selke this year?
There's a case. He has become a very good two-way player in Vegas. Not that I ever thought he was a slouch defensively, but his play has definitely improved. It's going to be tough for him to win that award because this award gets dealt to players of reputation. The voters have a habit of doing that. I will say that Eichel definitely is somebody that should be considered in the next few years as a Selke winner. I think he's reached that level of play where his defense is phenomenal.
If not him, one of his teammates, sometimes his line mate, Mark Stone. But so one last one, and then unfortunately I'm gonna have to split right after this. So if you want to do some Q&A after that,
I think we're gonna call it then because
yeah,
I got other things I got to do. I'm sorry.
Nah, well, I got to be able to kiss my wife for a second on the way out. So, Alexander Ovechkin needs 27 goals to break Wayne Gretzky's all-time goal record. If Ovechkin returns by New Year's, Alexander Ovechkin will break the record this season.
I'm gonna say shot. I think that it's a lot to ask somebody to come back at an older age like he is at 39 and ask him to maintain a level of pace that he was at. I don't know if he can do that at this age. I really don't. I get that team is playing different. 15 goals in 18 games. That's almost a goal per game. He's shooting 23.8%. Listen, if there's anyone that you want to say is sustainable at 20% or over, that it's Alexander Ovechkin. Yeah, I get it. But I just don't see 23.8% being sustainable for a guy of even for Ovechkin at this age. I'm sorry, especially if they're coming back from an injury. I just don't.
I do think if anybody can, it is Alexander Ovechkin because he's just going to keep firing the puck. So I'm going to buy around on this. I think Anthony's onto something here. That if he comes back, but he's got to be fine. He's missed injury most of his career. He's got that confidence back. He's got his mojo. So there you go right there.
23.8%. Good luck keeping that up.
And well, he's not going to have that, but he'll just keep shooting the puck until he scores. Anthony, I'm going to turn it over to you and say, everybody, thank you very much. Have a happy Thanksgiving, and I'll see you soon.
What's that? He just rolled out like that?
He's got work.
Oh, all right. I didn't.
Told you that.
Huh?
He told you that.
Well, I knew he had work. I didn't know he was leaving in that moment, though.
Yeah, he said that while you were gone.
Oh, all right. All right. Well, he's gone. Fair enough. All right. Well, we got about 10 minutes of the game start, right? Well,
yeah,
I only start at 7:30, but
yeah, Rangers start at 7:08. We'll say.
Yeah.
I mean, let's see what he has left here. I'm sorry. No, there's nothing left in this.
Yeah.
I mean, I got some stuff I have to do. I know
that's fine. I got to pick up dinner a little bit anyway.
Yeah. I mean, so we're probably just going to end it here, guys. I'm sorry. Do apologize. But we're going to cut this short just because, it's obviously holiday tomorrow. Everybody's got stuff coming up. But, thank you all for joining us. We appreciate it. Hope you all have a happy Thanksgiving. Hopefully none of you put your heads through a wall tonight like I might end up doing with the way that this team is probably going to play against Carolina. I'll answer this question really quick. But yeah, I think he's listening. I think Chris Drury is listening. I know that might have been a bluff to get somebody going, but if somebody calls in with an offer for somebody, I think he is more than open to listening right now, and I think he will. So. I did
start this one from earlier really for you and me. I know you said me, but I'll let you take the Rangers part of this one. But for the Islanders, honestly, Leo, I mean, it's so earlier in the season right now. I don't think Lou's going to make any moves, especially when he's still missing big pieces like Barzal, Duclair, Pelech. I think he wants to see what the team looks like once they're fully healthy and how they're playing. So I don't think you'll see any moves from the Islanders until later in the season, come trade deadline time. And for all the Islander fans that say trade Palmieri, Nelson because they're having good years, again for really the fifth time, Lou doesn't sell. If the Islanders are only 2 points out, 3 points out, come the trade deadline, he ain't moving anybody. The only way he's selling is if they're 12 points out by the trade deadline. But other than that, no moves for the Islanders coming anytime soon. Phil?
I don't see a move that the Rangers can make right now that would save this team. Like I've said in the previous streams, there is no helmet throw. There's no big trade that's coming in that's going to save this team. I don't know what you would do. You could go and get a Yanni Gourde or a Trent Frederick to kind of give this team some energy and some snarl. If Boston would be open to moving him, or if Seattle would be open to moving Gourde, maybe even Brandon Tanev as well, something like that. But what is that really going to save this team?
No.
Is that going to fix the fact that this team does not know how to break out? I don't think so. The one thing that I would consider right now, because I don't think you could give Keandre Miller a long-term deal. I go to Buffalo, and Rantanen is. I think he meant to say Rantanen is not going through the front door. So but I would go to Buffalo and ask them about Bowen Byram. And I would say, listen, I'll give you Keandre Miller for Bowen Byram right now. And I know people like to point to Bowen Byram's analytics and say that they're bad. Well, Keandre Miller's aren't very good either.
Mm-hmm.
And at least Bowen Byram, if he's Keandre Miller is so inconsistent defensively, and he doesn't give you the points. So at least Bowen Byram has shown that he can put up points at a good clip on a team that's not great. You can have Bowen Byram come in here and be your other puck-moving defenseman. This team needs puck movers. So Miller, who can't decide whether he wants to be a good offensive defenseman or a good defensive defenseman, and is really struggling with both, no matter where he plays and who he plays with, why not send him to Buffalo and let him develop there, not have to worry about being one of the big guys there, and then get Bowen from Buffalo, because apparently they seem like they don't want to commit to him.
Yeah, I think he would certainly help the Rangers. I mean, he could certainly move really well. I think he's got some untapped offensive potential. But, again, it kind of goes back to, right now Buffalo's actually in a playoff spot, so Buffalo's probably pumping the brakes on really doing any kind of big transaction. And, that's why it is tough. That's why we say there's really no move you could do right now. You mentioned Yanni Gourde and Trent Frederick. I mean, Seattle's 2 points out of a playoff spot. Boston's in one or tied for one. They're not. So no one's really doing anything yet. Everyone's at a standstill. It's still so early. I mean, aside from Chicago and maybe Montreal, those are the only two teams that are already kind of looking like they're not. Yeah. So
if you want to go there, if you want to go to one of those teams, the one guy that I could say that could really help the Rangers would be Mike Matheson.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And that's going to cost a bit to get him.
Yeah. So. Yes, it would. So. But in the meantime, our teams will wait, and I think you're just going to see status quo. But like you said earlier, thanks for everyone tuning in. Have a safe, happy, healthy Thanksgiving, and we'll be back next week.
Absolutely. Be good, everybody. Enjoy your holiday.
Yep.
And definitely do not drink and drive, everybody.
Absolutely.
Stay safe.
All right. Have a good night.